It's a story of boom and bust that's brought historian Tessa Dunlop to the most Dutch of Dutch industries.
Within sniffing distance of the sea, there's another ocean on this coast. An ocean of tulips.
When it's spring again, I'll bring again tulips from Amsterdam.
You can't get much more Dutch than this. There's even a windmill. Well, sort of. Most of Britain's tulips start life in Dutch soil. In April and May, the northern coast of the Netherlands blossoms. A carpet of colour. Carlos van der Veek's family's been growing bulbs on this shore for years. Why is it that tulips grow so well here in Holland especially?
Now, that's mainly because of the climate. The sea brings in his influence. The springs are cool, the winters are mild, and that's an ideal temperature for tulips.
Sadly, these beautiful blooms will never brighten someone's birthday. Their heads are lopped off. These tulips are grown for the bulb, not the bloom. The flowers become mulch to feed a billion-pound bulb industry. So tulip bulbs today have a value, but 4 centuries ago, it seems they were almost priceless. It's said that trading in these nearly bankrupted the nation. Turn back the pages of history to the early 17th century, and the tulip, a wildflower from Asia, had recently arrived in Europe. Rich merchants wanted them at any price. Dutch dealers went so bananas for bulbs, they were portrayed as greedy monkeys. It became known as tulip mania. The story goes that when the price of the bulbs crashed, so did the economy. Markets that outgrow common sense are familiar now, but does this tale of bloom and bust stand up? I want to find out the real truth behind tulip mania. Historian Anne Goldgar has spent years studying tulip mania, using original 17th century sources. Why, Anne, did Holland, of all places, become tulip country?
Because they had access, first of all, to them, because of the fact that the Netherlands was a very important trading nation, and because there were a lot of people who were interested in collecting exotica. People in the 17th century wanted to have tulips which were striped or speckled, and you can see that in this tulip catalogue, which was made in 1637.
So this is rather like having, I don't know, the right diamond today.
Yes, no, absolutely.
This 17th century floral bling was prized for its rarity. Tulips are tricky to grow. It takes 7 years from a seed. In the time of tulip mania, bulb farming was a bit of a lottery, a gamble that Dutch traders hoped would win them a jackpot. So how did that work? Let's see what we might learn from the modern flower market. I've come with Anne to Aalsmeer, the world's biggest flower auction. It's fascinating. It almost reminds me of The Price is Right. You've got the men here bidding, and at the bottom there are the women showing off, stroking their bunches of flowers. This is a proper Dutch auction. The clock counts down the price. The first trader to press their button stops it and pays what's on the dial. Turn back the clock some 400 years and it said the market went haywire. How do these modern traders feel about tulip mania?
The moment you still see that when a new tulip variety is produced, then we feel still a bit of that tulip mania is still going on.
4 centuries after tulip mania, traders are still tense. In the 17th century, bulbs were bought in a frenzy, betting they'd go up in value before they were out of the ground. The market did boom out of control. Single bulbs went for the price of a grand house. But did the bust nearly bankrupt the nation?
They come to a head on the 7th of February, 1637, and at that point, someone says, I have a bulb to sell, and nobody bought it in Haarlem. And at that point, people started to worry, and the prices did fall dramatically. That part of the story is true. As for bankruptcies, I have found no one who went bankrupt because of tulip mania.
Anne's research shows society didn't crash when the tulip bubble burst. So where's that story come from? This book, Extraordinary Popular Delusions and the Madness of Crowds, did much to make the myth. 200 years after tulip mania, the author Scotsman Charles Mackay wrote,
"Substantial merchants were reduced almost to beggary, and many a representative of a noble line saw the fortunes of his house ruined."
Mackay was printing the legend perpetuated by the original paintings that made mischievous fun of tulip traders. 4 centuries on, the bulb market is blooming, but reminders of darker days haunt the fields. This is a picture of the Semper Augustus, supposedly one of the most sought-after bulbs of the tulip mania period. But weirdly, you'd struggle to find a tulip like this growing today, because in fact the flaming striped effect is a sign that the plant had a virus that could spread and infect the rest of the crop. So what was once so fashionable now would immediately be dug out and thrown away. The odd offending bloom still pops up, once highly prized, now despised. It seems the Netherlands will never really close the book on tulip mania.